My 8-year-old was left alone, scrubbing the floor while they took their real granddaughter out. My name is Claire Morgan. I'm 33 years old, and nothing prepares you for the moment you walk into your home and find your 8-year-old daughter on her hands and knees, scrubbing the laundry room floor in silence, her cheeks streaked with dried tears. It was supposed to be a routine work trip. I had flown to San Diego for a 2-day design pitch with a client whose luxury home remodel had been months in the making. The presentation had gone better than expected, and when the client signed early, I grabbed the first available flight home. I didn't tell anyone. I wanted to surprise my daughter Ava. Instead, I came home to a quiet house, no sign of the in-laws, and the haunting sound of soft scrubbing echoing through the hallway. Ava didn't hear me at first. She was so focused. Her small hands gripped a bristle brush as she scrubbed over and over the same spot on the tile floor. She looked exhausted. Her shirt was damp, her hair clung to her forehead, and her knees were red from pressure. I stood frozen in the doorway, heart in my throat, until I finally managed to speak. "Ava?" She startled. The brush clattered to the floor, and she looked up with wide eyes filled with fear, confusion, and a glimmer of hope. "Mommy?" Her voice trembled. She blinked like she didn't quite believe I was real. In 3 strides, I was kneeling beside her, not caring that my pants were soaking up the soapy water. "Sweetheart, what are you doing? Where are Grandma and Grandpa?" She hesitated, her lip quivering. "I spilled juice this morning. Grandma said I had to clean the floor. All of it. She said I needed to learn not to be so clumsy." "And where are they now?" She looked down. "They took Emma to Playland Ridge. They said I wouldn't enjoy it because I'm not their real granddaughter." For a second, the air left my lungs. I pulled Ava into my arms, feeling her small frame shaking against me, her breath shallow and frightened. That was the moment everything changed. Before I continue, let me ask, have you ever trusted someone with your child and then regretted it in your bones? Drop your stories in the comments below. And if you've ever had to fight for your kid when no one else would, this story is for you. What happened next would unravel everything we thought we knew about family and rebuild something stronger from the pieces they tried to discard. I held Ava for a long time in that laundry room, her small arms clinging tightly to my neck as if she were afraid I'd disappear. Her skin was clammy, and I could smell the sharp bite of cleaning solution on her clothes. She was too quiet, too still for a child who normally burst with stories and questions. I finally helped her to her feet and led her to the bathroom, where I gently washed the grime off her hands and face. The redness on her knuckles made my stomach turn. She winced as the lukewarm water touched her skin. "Did they leave you alone like this before?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Ava gave a small nod. "Yesterday, too. They took Emma to the movies and said I had to stay because I was too fidgety. The day before that, I had to vacuum. Emma got to play Roblox while I wiped the tables." Each word hit me like a slap. I didn't realize how tightly I was gripping the towel until Ava winced again, and I forced myself to soften. After getting her into fresh pajamas, yes, even though it was only 4 in the afternoon, I sat her down with a warm blanket and her favorite stuffed bunny, Oliver. She curled up on the couch like a kitten seeking shelter. I poured her a small cup of warm milk and sat beside her, stroking her hair while she slowly began to open up more. "Grandma said I should be grateful you took me in," she murmured, barely above a whisper. "She said no one else wanted me, and that Emma has Morgan blood. That makes her different. More real." I felt something inside me rupture. Let me tell you something about Ava. She came into my life not because I planned it, but because the world gave me no choice, and no greater gift. When my sister Mia and her husband died in that icy car crash, Ava was only 2. CPS told me there were no next of kin willing to take her. I was 25, single, barely getting my firm off the ground, but I didn't hesitate. She was family. I became her guardian, and a year later, I adopted her fully. Raising Ava has been the most sacred thing I've ever done. When I met Daniel, he didn't just fall in love with me. He got down on one knee and asked Ava if he could be her dad too. We became a family in every sense that mattered. The only cracks in our happy story were Daniel's parents, Patricia and Walter. They had never explicitly rejected Ava, but their affection had always been conditional, polite, distant, and always eclipsed by their adoration for Emma, Daniel's niece. At birthdays, Emma's gift was a tablet, Ava's was a sketchpad. At Christmas, Patricia posted photos of all the grandkids. Only Emma made it into the frame. Ava noticed, even if she never said it out loud. And now I knew just how deep the damage ran. As Ava sipped her milk and slowly drifted off under her blanket, I picked up my phone and walked into the hallway. I texted Daniel. "Emergency, need to talk ASAP. It's about Ava, your parents, call me." Less than a minute later, my phone rang. Daniel's voice came through the phone, breathless and worried. "What happened? Is Ava okay?" I stepped into our bedroom and closed the door behind me, pacing as I relayed everything. How I found Ava alone, the scrubbing, the comments about being not real family, how they took Emma to an amusement park while leaving our daughter behind like an afterthought. At first, there was only silence on the other end, then a low, controlled voice. "They left her alone, Mayo, for hours?" "Yes," I whispered, pressing my palm to my forehead, and she was terrified. She thought she was being punished. She thought she deserved it. I could hear him swallow hard. "I'm getting the next flight back. I don't care about the client anymore. This is not just favoritism. This is abuse. Emotional abuse. Neglect." "I agree," I said softly, feeling tears prick the corners of my eyes again. "And we need to handle this the right way. They'll be back soon, probably by dinner time. I don't want them walking in here like nothing happened." Daniel's voice sharpened. "They're not staying. I don't want them under our roof another minute." "I feel the same," I told him. "But I want Ava out of earshot when it happens. I don't want her to see us fighting with her grandparents. That will just confuse and hurt her more." We came up with a plan. Daniel would fly in as soon as he could, but until then, I would confront his parents alone. Calmly, clearly, firmly. There would be no yelling, no chaos, just truth. When I hung up, I checked on Ava again. She was still asleep, snuggled under the blanket with Oliver tucked beneath her chin. I sat on the armrest beside her and watched her breathe. Slow, steady, safe, for the first time in days. But then I noticed something that made my stomach drop all over again. A faint purple mark on her upper arm, just under the short sleeve of her t-shirt. Carefully, I shifted the fabric aside to get a better look. It was a bruise, a thumb-sized one. Not fresh, but not faded either. I sat there, frozen, until her eyes fluttered open. "Hey, sweet pea," I said gently, brushing hair from her forehead. "How did you get this?" Ava glanced at it. "Oh, Grandma grabbed me yesterday when I dropped a plate. She was just mad. I was being clumsy again." My blood ran cold. "That's not okay," I told her, steady and quiet. "Adults aren't supposed to grab kids hard enough to hurt, even when they're upset. And you're not clumsy, Ava. You're a kid. Kids drop things." She looked away. "Grandma said if I wasn't so lucky to have you and Daddy, I'd probably be in a shelter." It took everything in me not to cry in front of her. Instead, I kissed her forehead. "You're not lucky we have you. We are the lucky ones." The sound of tires in the driveway snapped me out of the moment. They were home. I stood up, straightened my shoulders, and kissed Ava one more time. "Stay here, honey. I'll be right back." She looked up at me, eyes wide. "Are you mad at me?" My voice broke. "No, sweetheart. I've never been more proud of you." Then I turned toward the door, and I got ready to face them. I walked down the stairs just as the front door swung open, laughter trailing in like a cold wind. Patricia entered first, sunglasses perched on her head, shopping bags in hand, each one stamped with the Playland Ridge logo. Behind her came Walter, carrying a sleepy-looking Emma on his shoulders, her face smudged with cotton candy and joy. They hadn't noticed me yet. I cleared my throat. Patricia stopped mid-step and jolted. "Claire." "Goodness, you scared me. What are you doing home?" Walter set Emma down. "Where's Ava?" he asked, glancing around. "She's upstairs." "Resting," I replied evenly, after spending 4 hours scrubbing the laundry room floor alone. The smile froze on Patricia's lips. Walter blinked. Emma looked confused. Patricia recovered first. "Oh, Claire, don't be so dramatic. She made a mess this morning." "It's called responsibility." Responsibility? My voice stayed calm, but the steel beneath it rose like a current. "She's 8. You left her unsupervised while you took Emma to an amusement park." Walter stepped forward. "Now hold on. Ava was being difficult. She threw a fit over spilling juice and needed some time to cool down. She told me she apologized immediately, that she was scared, that she thought she was being punished for not being a real granddaughter." Patricia scoffed and set her bags down. "Children twist things when they feel guilty. Ava tends to exaggerate." "No," I said, sharp now. "She's been minimizing, hiding, trying to earn your love while watching you shower Emma with everything. Gifts, praise, attention. She's noticed for years. And now? She thinks she's not good enough because she doesn't have Morgan blood." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "She's not. Not really. And I'm not going to apologize for acknowledging that biology matters." The room went silent. Then I pulled out my phone and hit the speaker button. Daniel's voice filled the space. "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad." Patricia blinked, caught off guard. "Daniel, sweetheart, we were just talking to Claire. She's telling the truth," Daniel said. His voice was calm, but there was a dangerous undercurrent beneath it. "You abandoned our daughter. You made her feel unwanted. You told her she wasn't family." "Oh, please," Patricia huffed. "You're both overreacting. Blood is thicker than water. That's all I meant." "Then hear me clearly," Daniel said. "Ava is my daughter. My only daughter. And if you can't treat her with the same love and respect you show Emma, then you will not be in her life." Walter stepped forward. "Daniel, let's not make decisions we can't walk back." "You made that decision when you left her alone," I said, my voice ice. "When you bruised her arm. When you told her she was lucky we took her in." Patricia flushed. "She is lucky." "No," I said quietly. "We are." Daniel's voice came through again. "I'm on a flight home. I expect you to be gone by the time I arrive. You will not see Ava again without supervision." Patricia's mouth opened, but no words came out. Walter looked down at the floor. Emma glanced up, confused and frightened. "Can I say goodbye to Ava?" Walter asked quietly. "Not tonight," I said. "She's been through enough." Patricia grabbed her bag, her voice cold. "You're going to regret this. You're tearing this family apart." I didn't flinch. "No, you did that the moment you decided one child mattered more than the other." They left without another word. And I stood there, hand still on my phone, heart racing in my chest, knowing everything had just changed. But finally, for the better. I stayed by the front door for a long moment after it closed, letting the silence settle around me like dust after an explosion. The air still held the scent of Patricia's perfume and faint echoes of Emma's giggles. But the house finally felt like ours again. When I returned upstairs, Ava was sitting up on the couch, clutching Oliver in her arms. Her eyes were wide. "Did they leave because of me?" she asked in a tiny voice. I sat down beside her and pulled her close. "No, sweetheart. They left because of their choices, not yours." She nodded slowly, resting her head against my side. "Are they mad at me?" "They might be upset," I said carefully, "but none of this is your fault. You didn't do anything wrong." "But Grandma said I wasn't really part of the family." Her voice cracked, and my chest ached with the weight of her words. "That I was lucky you picked me, that you could have picked someone else." I tightened my arms around her. "You are my daughter. There was never anyone else, never a question. You didn't get picked like a toy on a shelf. You were my heart the moment I held you in my arms. And anyone who can't see that, they don't get to be part of your life." She didn't answer right away, but I felt her body relax against mine. The tension that had clung to her shoulders like invisible armor began to fade. We ordered takeout that night, mac and cheese, Ava's favorite, and watched her comfort movie twice in a row. I let her stay up later than usual. I just wanted her to feel safe, grounded, home. Daniel arrived just after midnight. I met him at the door, and for the first time in days, I let myself cry. Not just tears of anger, but of relief, exhaustion, guilt. So much guilt. I left her with them, I whispered. I should have known. Daniel held me tighter. You trusted your family. You believed they'd do the right thing. That's not a failure, Claire. That's hope. We sat together at the kitchen table, the same one Ava had eaten her lonely breakfast at just a day earlier. I told Daniel everything she had said. Every bruise, every comment, every slight that had built up into a storm we hadn't seen until it broke. Daniel didn't say much, just listened. His jaw clenched, eyes rimmed with red. He'd always believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt, especially his parents. But this was beyond repair. I knew they favored Emma, he said finally, but I didn't know they were hurting her to do it. How long has this been going on? Too long, I said quietly. But now we do something about it. And we did. The next morning, Ava woke up to Daniel making pancakes and a pink carnation in a vase on the table. She squealed and hugged him so hard I thought his ribs might crack. We sat her down after breakfast and had a family talk. Age-appropriate, but honest. Sometimes, Daniel said gently, even adults make really bad choices. And when those choices hurt the people we love, there have to be consequences. Like when I get a timeout? Ava asked. Daniel smiled, but there was sadness behind it. Kind of, but longer and safer. They won't come back here? She asked, looking between us. I reached across the table and took her hand. Not unless we know they're going to treat you with kindness and respect. Always. She was quiet, then whispered, okay. And that one word told me she understood more than any 8-year-old should ever have to. That afternoon, while Ava was curled up with a book in her favorite window seat, Daniel and I sat together on the living room sofa and made the call we both knew had to happen. He put it on speaker. The phone rang once, twice. Then Patricia's voice came through, brisk and already defensive. Oh, so you're finally calling back. Daniel didn't flinch. We're calling to make our position clear. Walter's voice cut in from the background. We've been worried sick. You stormed out Claire last night like you were throwing us out of a courtroom. You were thrown out, I said, calm and direct. Because you left our daughter alone, neglected, and emotionally mistreated her for 3 straight days. You're blowing this way out of proportion, Patricia snapped. Yes, we left for a few hours. She was fine. Children need discipline. You millennials just don't get that. She's not a soldier, Daniel said. She's 8, and she was scared out of her mind. Oh, come on, Walter muttered. She spilled juice. She had to clean up. Are you really going to call that abuse? Spilling juice doesn't justify hours of isolation, I said coldly. It doesn't justify bruises on her arms or making her feel like she's nothing because she doesn't share your DNA. There was a pause. Then Patricia spoke again, slower this time. She's not a real Morgan, Claire. That's just the truth. She doesn't come from our bloodline. We didn't say anything we didn't mean. Daniel leaned forward, his voice quiet but lethal. You may not think she's a Morgan, but let me tell you what I think. She is my daughter. In name, in heart, in every possible way that matters. And the fact that you could treat her differently because of blood? That says more about you than it ever will about her. Silence. Then Patricia said, well, it sounds like we're being punished for telling the truth. No, I said. You're being held accountable for how you made a child feel unloved. You don't get to rewrite this. Daniel finished it. You will not be allowed to see Ava unsupervised. Any contact will be on our terms. If you push back, we cut contact entirely. Walter groaned. This is just Claire manipulating you. Daniel didn't even blink. Claire didn't tell me to say this. Ava did, when she said she's tired of trying to make you love her. That shut them up. When Daniel hung up, he dropped the phone onto the coffee table and sat in silence. We both knew this wasn't over. Not really. Because that's when the rest of the family started calling. His aunt, his cousin, even his godmother. Most of them took Patricia's version of the story, the sugar-coated version where Ava was being difficult and we overreacted. The one where Claire never fit in and was trying to drive a wedge between Daniel and his roots. The pressure was exhausting, but one call changed everything. Daniel's younger sister, Rachel, called us that night. She had Emma with her, and she had questions. Rachel's voice was quieter than usual when she called. "Hey," she began. "Can I talk to you both for a second?" Daniel put her on speaker. "We're here." There was a pause, then the sound of Rachel taking a breath. "Emma's been really upset. She keeps asking why she can't FaceTime Ava, why there's tension. I haven't told her anything yet, but I think I need to." Daniel and I exchanged a glance. "What's she said so far?" I asked. She said Ava had to do chores while she played, that Grandma said she didn't deserve a treat, and then she asked if being real family meant you got better toys. Rachel's voice cracked on the last words. "Claire, Dan, I had no idea it was like this." I felt my chest tighten, but it wasn't anger. It was relief. "Rachel," Daniel said gently, "we didn't expect you to. You weren't there, but we've had signs for years, and now it's undeniable." "Emma feels awful," Rachel whispered. She thought it was just Ava being in a bad mood, but now she's piecing it together. She asked me tonight if Ava got left out because she didn't come from Grandma's belly. That was the moment I realized this story was no longer just about Ava. It was about every child being taught, however subtly, who mattered more. "She didn't say that to Ava?" I asked carefully. "No," Rachel said. "Not directly. But you know how kids are. They absorb things." Daniel let out a breath. "Thank you for calling. Really." Rachel was quiet again, then said, "I believe you. And I want Emma and Ava to still have each other, even if our parents can't figure this out." That was the first sliver of light. From there, healing didn't happen in leaps, but in careful, guarded steps. Rachel arranged supervised video calls between the girls, and for the first time in days, Ava smiled like she meant it. They talked about their favorite books, compared drawings, and even planned a secret handshake for when we're allowed to have a sleepover again. Meanwhile, Daniel and I focused on Ava's recovery. We found a family therapist, Dr. Michelle Harmon, who specialized in adoptive and blended families. From the first session, she made Ava feel safe, seen, and strong. "How did it feel, Doctor?" Harmon asked gently during one session. "When Grandma said you weren't really part of the family?" Ava hugged Oliver tight and stared at the floor. "Sad. Like maybe Daddy would stop loving me too. Because I'm not his real kid." Daniel reached for her hand instantly. His voice broke. "Never. Not in a million lifetimes. Ava, being your dad is the best thing that's ever happened to me." Over the weeks that followed, we uncovered more than we expected. Little patterns that Ava had never spoken about before. Moments at dinners, holidays, even car rides, where she felt invisible, like a guest in her own family. "She always let Emma go first," Ava said once. "For everything. I thought maybe I was supposed to wait because I wasn't as good." Dr. Harmon helped us understand how deep these messages went. Children internalize what's repeated, even in silence. And once that narrative forms, they think it's their fault, that they must be doing something wrong. We had work to do, as parents, as protectors, as healers. But for the first time in months, we weren't alone in it. And more importantly, neither was Ava. 6 weeks after everything came crashing down, we attended Ava's school spring recital. Emma was in the performance too, which meant Patricia and Walter would be there. Ava had been nervous for days leading up to it, not about singing, but about seeing them again. What if they try to talk to me? She asked the night before, curling against me in bed. Then you say only what you feel comfortable saying, I told her, brushing her hair back gently. And Daddy or I will be right there. You won't be alone. The auditorium was packed. The smell of construction paper and cupcakes lingered in the air. We took our seats in the middle row, strategically far from where Patricia and Walter sat with Rachel and Emma. When Ava walked out with her classmates wearing her handmade paper flower crown, Daniel squeezed my hand. She smiled when she saw us. And I knew in that moment, no matter what had happened, she felt safe. She sang every word, head held high, voice small but steady. And when the song ended, she found us in the crowd again and gave a little wave. After the performance, we waited outside her classroom for pickup. That's when they approached. Patricia held her purse tightly in both hands. Walter walked beside her, looking older somehow. Rachel and Emma hung back respectfully. She sang beautifully, Walter said awkwardly. Yes, I replied. She did. Patricia studied Ava through the classroom window. I could tell she wanted to say something, but didn't know how. I suppose we should congratulate you, she said stiffly, on turning your daughter against her grandparents. Don't, Daniel said, his voice low. Not here. Not today. Walter put a hand on his wife's arm. Pat, not now. To my surprise, Patricia didn't argue. She just looked down and muttered, We'll be leaving then. They turned to go, but just before they reached the end of the hall, a small voice called out, Wait! Ava stood beside us, Oliver in her hand, her crown slightly crooked, her eyes steady. I'm not against you, she said clearly. I just want to be treated the same as Emma. That's all. Patricia froze. Walter slowly turned around. That's fair, he said softly. Patricia looked at her granddaughter. Her jaw clenched, and then, maybe for the first time, she said something real. I owe you an apology, Ava. The hallway went silent. What we did, how we treated you, it was wrong, and I don't expect you to forgive us right away, but I'm sorry. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase the pain, but it was a beginning. Later that week, we spoke to Dr. Harmon about the moment. She nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes, she said, kids heal faster than adults. Ava may forgive, but trust is rebuilt brick by brick. Over the next few months, supervised visits were allowed, always in public, always brief. Patricia began attending therapy herself. Walter, surprisingly, was more proactive, sending Ava postcards, asking about her hobbies, showing interest without comparison. The biggest surprise came from Emma. Free from favoritism, she grew fiercely protective of her cousin. If Grandma says something mean again, she declared during a video call, I'll tell her she has to apologize right away. Ava beamed. And slowly, so slowly, the light returned to her eyes. Her laughter came easier. She stopped asking every night, Are you sure you're not mad at me? By the time her 9th birthday rolled around, Ava wanted to invite everyone. I want people to see how loved I am, she told us simply. So we planned a backyard picnic. Her friends came. Rachel and Emma came. Patricia and Walter were invited. With limits, Ava opened their gift, a small necklace with her name engraved, and said, Thank you, without fear. As she blew out her candles, surrounded by people who had earned their place in her life, I felt something settle in my chest. We had fought hard, for her voice, her place, her dignity. We had drawn boundaries, faced the storm, and never wavered. And in doing so, we gave Ava the greatest gift any child could have. Not just a family, but a family that chose her completely, unapologetically, and forever.